because he still didn't feel confident about saving Miss Mo, who was currently guarded by the leader who was level 45. And even he still didn't know if he was able to fight this level 40 or not. In his system space with a total accumulation of 50,000 rupiah EXP points, Yihao raised his link level, which is currently level 21. So this link level is Yihao's link level with King Kaiyan's account, which will make Yihao increase when he uses the enhanced power of King Kaiyan. And a moment later, the full power that now resided within Yihao's body emerged. And finally, Yihao has now managed to level up to level 4. And after level 5, and after his level link reaches level 20, Yihao will open a special talent which is certainly no stranger to gamers. And he also chooses a defensive talent that he feels is useful for him in a battle. Then we will be shown the soldiers who are talking about a place in the middle of nowhere. Yang was suddenly ambushed and briefly burned by the flames Yihao put out. Even though he managed to avoid the bullets that the other soldiers deployed, suddenly a bomb that fell from the air instantly exploded right in the direction where Yihao was currently. And the bomb throw was issued by a man with level 40 deputy commander of the Black Tiger named Big Gun. But in fact, the explosion just now had no effect on Yihao, who instead turned the flames generated from the explosion towards the soldiers who were still around the area. Big Gun, who saw the incident, was immediately amazed and said, how is it possible that the boy in front of him at this time managed to survive a grenade explosion that had such a strong destructive power? And it turns out that Yihao was able to easily withstand the explosion thanks to a defensive talent he previously obtained. During Yihao's fight with Big Gun, Yihao realized their difference lies in the physical part. At his current level, Big Gun has quite strong physical strength, which makes it difficult for Yihao to injure him. And in terms of equipment, besides having weapons with unlimited ammo, Big Gun also has a shield that can ignore damage and make this battle much more difficult than previous battles. But with his skills, Yihao still has a trick to be able to beat the man. Where to do the trick this time, Yihao has to get closer to the target even though Big Gun's repeated attacks injured him until his blood was drained too. After taking attack, Yihao took hold with a shield. After being in a position that he felt was sufficient, he immediately used his newest defense skill called Deflagration. Not only as a defense, but this skill also has the effect that if he is close to an enemy, he can use fire to burn the target and consume the resistance of his enemy's equipment. And after 1 minute of defending against Big Gun's attack, suddenly all of Big Gun's equipment immediately fell out without even knowing what had happened to his equipment. But as we know that it is the effect of Yihao's skill, Deflagration. It was like a gem for Yihao, but in fact, the trick he used this time was quite successful, along with him recovering 30% HP. Big Gun, who still doesn't want to give up, intends to throw a bomb at him. But unfortunately, Yihao's reflection speed was more shrewd than Big Gun, which finally made him give up. The deputy commander, Aka Big Gun, who is now cornered, asks Yihao for forgiveness and admits that he is just an ordinary worker who does all of this on the orders of his commander. But to give him a chance, Yihao would surely want some valuable items, until finally directed himself into a car that already stored a level 40 treasure chest in it. Inside his mind, cunning Big Gun said for once he would do whatever Yihao wanted and wait for reinforcements to come to his place. And when the time comes, he intends to torture Yihao until the torment will be more painful than death. But as soon as the chest was opened by him, Yihao, who turned out to be more cunning than him, stabbed his sword. Because he must always be vigilant and will get rid of all the enemies that can cause harm to him. After eliminating Big Gun with his strategy, Yihao got 30,000 EXP points, as well as a copy of the level 40 dungeon key that was outside the safe zone. And it will be useful later, but that's not all. The real jackpot is in the treasure chest in front of it. Instead, there are many more valuable items. There is also a rare crystal magic enzyme that can be converted into EXP points. After entering the system room and exchanging 10 ancient magic crystals, Yihao gets 100,000 EXP points. And currently, he had accumulated a total of 130,000 EXP points. Even though he had doubts about getting these points, thanks to the recommendations from the system, Yihao finally decided to open a new king account. Yihao, who was currently in his system room thanks to system recommendations, finally chose to open a new king account, besides King Kaiyan, by spending 100,000 EXP points. And the king account that Yihao got was Crazy Mouse, a mad scientist who came from another world. Yang is known to have caused a lot of destruction thanks to his talents and inventions. And he wasn't a king of the fighting type, but even though he wasn't a real king, this man had reached the top of the world with his inventions. Crazy Mouse doesn't have a fixed skill. The skill will change according to the name of the title. And the currently open title is Master of Engineering. Then Yihao can upgrade the skill or title up to level 10, which makes Yihao feel interested in Crazy Mouse, which means type support but has a fairly high ability. And not long after, suddenly the main account of the Kaiyan King in his body was immediately switched to Crazy Mouse. Coinciding with that, a flying robot suddenly appeared and called Yihao Master. The robot admits that he is Crazy Mouse's creation, which was created through interdimensional artificial intelligence, and the robot is named Weist. From this second onwards, the robot would always be by Yihao's side, where Weiss' goal is to help Yihao to conquer the world. But unfortunately, there wasn't the slightest intention in Yihao's heart to do such a fantastic thing. And then it was also explained by Weiss if this Master of Engineering degree could parse and then combine objects related to engineering and machinery and create a new object. But there is a limit to an object that can be parsed and combined by it. That is, objects that have a level that is twice as high as their current level. And because Yihao currently has 2 king accounts, for its use he can switch the 2 accounts and change them at will. Hence Yihao was currently prepared to save Miss Mo. Finally, Yihao exited his system room. Meanwhile, in a room, we will be shown Miss Mo Young, who has now been caught by the Black Tiger group. And we will also be shown a man who led the kidnapping of Miss Mo. He is a level 45 fighter named Maru. As for the reason why Miss Mo could be kidnapped so easily, it was because the masked strong bodyguards who guarded her had now turned to stone after being affected by a Medusa item that H. Wang Zhang's group gave to Maru to subdue them for sure. And because the Black Tiger group, a group that was crazy about the money, he ended up making an offer with Miss Mo, who H. Wang Zhang's group knew gave them 50 million yuan. And if Miss Mo gives twice the amount of money that H. Wang Zhang's group gave, then Maru will let him go. But it looks like Miss Mo won't agree to Maru's crazy offer. Because Miss Mo didn't take her offer, Maru would immediately carries out his goal from the start to kill Miss Mo with his 2 swords. But suddenly a line appeared that thwarted Maru's action at that time. And this barrier is certainly the power of Yihao, who suddenly comes and immediately collects the prize money from the previous competition, plus 10 million yuan if Yihao can save Miss Mo from the kidnapping that she experienced. Maru, who saw Yihao thwarted his action, without further ado, jumped and attacked Yihao to the best ability. But even so, thanks to his defensive talent, Yihao only lost 20% of the amount of HP he had. On the other side of the barrier, Miss Mo cares for Yihao, saying that this incident has nothing to do with him and that he didn't need to come and die a hero. As well as Miss Mo also tells Yihao to get out of there immediately. "Don't be excited, Miss Mo. If you die, where should I collect the points and bonuses I get?" said money-loving Yihao. Then the soldiers who tried to destroy the barrier protecting Miss Mo were immediately shocked, even though previously the energy of the barrier had run out after they attacked. "But suddenly you're full again, this can't be impossible," they say. Noticing the strangeness just now, Maru realized that something was wrong with the level 4 boy he was currently side by side with. Maru thought that Yihao could hide his true level. Meanwhile, the fight continued with Yihao throwing several grenades at them, and Maru arrogantly said that a grenade was a child's toy in front of his protective shield. But after the grenade exploded, this grenade is not just any grenade like grenades in general. This grenade contains cobwebs that can gradually drain a person's HP. And this is a work that Yihao made with the skill Master of Engineering, which he named Sticky Bondage. This item is made of Ghost IDM spider silk, and grenades which combined can control the target's movement for 10 minutes and cause continuous damage. But with his strength, Maru was able to escape from the entanglement of the spider web, so that finally Maru, who acts as the goalkeeper this time, will show his true strength. And with a powerful slash, Yihao's HP was getting drained to 50%. Because he has got the red and blue buffs, his speed and strength have drastically increased. Yihao's slash attack was easily dodged by him, followed by attack after attack until finally Yihao was getting cornered. With only 10% implied blood, Yihao automatically activates Lock HP, which can lock his blood and will not receive damage for 20 seconds. And he immediately switched to King Kaiyan mode. Even though he had directed some of his fire abilities, it didn't seem to have much impact on Maru, but it was just the beginning of an action that Yihao would show. After successfully getting out of the huge flames of flames, Maru was immediately confronted with a strange thing, because in front of him at this time a demonic weapon had appeared which had fired successively at him. Maru realized that the weapon belonged to his subordinate Big Gun. However, different from the previous weapon, it seems that it has undergone modifications with unlimited ammunition. Yihao's weapon also can lock and shoot targets automatically. In front of Yihao's modified weapon, Maru was overwhelmed. But it was only for a moment, because, with the speed of his movement, Maru was finally able to overcome the weapon that was troublesome for him. But in fact, the attack was just a diversion. Yihao with his poison dagger from behind got an easy chance to stab Maru, and instantly Maru was finished off with a dagger coated by Yihao's poison. Maru, who is now falling unexpectedly, activates the effect of a rare item called Guardian Shield, which can be passively immune to the special effect of one-hit kill and recovers 30% of the user's HP. Here Maru felt very irritated because the item costs sky high. Maru, who was now even more furious, then with his strength succeeded in knocking Yihao away, followed by Yihao's HP lock model which had run out. In his thoughts this time, Maru didn't expect that the boy he was fighting was so strong, while pulling out his last ace card. Maru then injected the liquid into his body, which instantly filled his body with an overwhelming amount of electrical energy. It is a kind of epic item called Blood of Thunder Beast, which turns the user into a Thunder Beast that will increase all of his status drastically within 5 minutes. This was the first time for Yi Hao was faced with a fight against a high-level fighter. It wasn't only the tactics that could be changed, they also had various combat tools and items that made it even more difficult to predict in front of him. And now stood the terrifying figure of Maru, who had changed his body shape. Maru, who intended to have an equal duel with Yi Hao, was immediately shocked after Yi Hao said that he didn't want to fight anymore. That was because he currently no longer had any attacks that could be cast. Whereas a result of Yi Hao's words made Maru even more furious, he felt it was a waste because he had used the most precious ace for him. Even though he couldn't do anything anymore, Yi Hao still looked relaxed in front of Maru, who was now preparing to muster all of his strength. Even though he just stayed silent, it turned out that Yi Hao had prepared something for him, where the attack from Maru was successfully stopped by the two masked bodyguards Miss Mo. So why did the two masked men get away before Yi Hao had secretly overheard Maru's conversation about the masked man having helped because of a Medusa item? And fortunately, in Big Gun's crate, it turns out that there is an antidote to change the masked man back to normal. Then proceed to the direction of the battle, where the combo attacks from the two masked men are not the least bit able to counter the attacks of the two of them. The rhythmic fist attack of the inner power easily sent Maru flying toward the wall. The attack just now was the closing strike of the current battle. Yi Hao couldn't help but silently witness the absolute strength of the two men in front of him, and made him feel cold sweat after watching the fight just now. Shortly after Miss Mo came over to him, Miss Mo asked Yi Hao why he didn't remove the rock effect from the start and instead fought to the end and put himself in a state of danger. Yi Hao replied that he only wanted to gain valuable experience by fighting high-level fighters because money couldn't buy that experience. Hearing Yi Hao's words, Miss Mo immediately reacted strangely, because after seeing so many people in her life, Yi Hao the first time for her that Miss Mo met someone as unique as Yi Hao. Back to the original topic, where Yi Hao immediately asked for a 10 million yuan bonus for saving Miss Mo's life and also a 500,000 yuan prize for winning the dungeon competition. And all of that will be paid for by this wealthy Miss Mo. Until finally we will be shown again by Maru, who is currently no longer able to move his body but hasn't died yet, and for the final blow will be given to Yi Hao so he can get EXP and equipment owned by Maru. Before his death, Maru said that monsters outside the safe zone were secretly gathering strength. This safe zone will sooner or later be destroyed, said Maru, who was on the verge of death. Shortly after taking Maru's life, Miss Mo offers Yi Hao to join the Mogo team, which is the attacking team of the Hanmo group. Because of his current skills, Yi Hao has qualified to join the top 10 team of the Hanmo group. But it seems that Yi Hao doesn't want to answer Miss Mo's offer at this time. Yi Hao instead wants to discuss business with her. That's because at this time Yi Hao still can't decide whether to join the Mogo team or should refuse it. And because Yi Hao likes money, the two of them continue to talk about their business. After discussing a business with Miss Mo from the Hanmo group, then Yi Hao, who is still around his school, met the principal, who came and greeted Yi Hao like a hero. Because before that Yi Hao had managed to save Miss Mo and even the entire school. At the same time, for Yi Hao's actions, the principal wants to give him a special award. Even though I wanted to refuse the award as long as all dungeon competition prizes are given on time. But because the principal's nature forced him, finally Yi Hao could no longer refuse the award that would be given to him. Where Yi Hao's award will be given another day. Meanwhile, their school will be closed for the next 3 days due to the previous incident. Until finally Yi Hao is now in the hospital, also the father, who is currently getting better. But even so, the effect of the poison on him had not completely disappeared and it took time to fully recover. That's why at this time Yi Hao was thinking about whether there might be a better medicine so that the father could recover faster. Where Yi Hao's thoughts at that time coincided with the arrival of the doctor, who was carrying out routine maintenance together with an old man who served as the leader in the hospital. Let's just call the doctor Dr. Zhang. His arrival there was intended to apologize for the conflict between Yi Hao and the previous director. And before he left the treatment room, Yi Hao asked Dr. Zhang, does the hospital have any quick healing medicine for his father? Dr. Zhang replied that there was, but the price would be very expensive because it is an extraordinary drug. Yi Hao's father, who saw this, said that he just needed to rest and didn't need to spend a lot of money buying medicine. But suddenly Yi Hao had taken out a kind of card which instantly made Dr. Zhang break out in a cold sweat just by looking at the card. Dr. Zhang said, how come you have the card? Yi Hao said that it was given by Miss Mo Dan because it wasn't just any card. Knowing that, Dr. Zhang immediately changed his attitude towards Yi Hao, because it was like a VIP card that could be used in all Hanmo Group properties, including this hospital, which is under the auspices of Hanmo Group. It didn't take long for Dr. Zhang to immediately order the doctor to move the patient to the most expensive VIP room. as well as the 3 best antidotes to the poison, he would be given to his father as a reward. On the other hand, Yihao still didn't expect that the card he was currently holding would have such a powerful effect. Shortly after, the doctor who returned panicked and reported that the best antidote and medicines in the hospital had disappeared. Meanwhile, the suspect is a director at the beginning of the story, because there is no top-grade antidote available in that hospital anymore, and to get those expensive items are only available at auction. Yihao thinks that the director stole the expensive things to get money, so the only place the director wanted to sell it was the black market. That's why at this time Yihao was thinking of going to the black market to get the offers that might be there. Before Yihao leaves, Yunfei decides to come with him to find a top-tier antidote, because Yunfei was tired of being in the hospital. On the way to the black market, Yihao tells Yunfei about the victory he won in the dungeon competition and saves Miss Mo from the incident that happened to him at that time. But suddenly their journey is thwarted by 3 hooligans who try to extort money from Yihao, where Yunfei stands directly at the forefront to deal with those crooks. Seeing that Yunfei was still in a weak state and had just recovered from his treatment, Yihao would not let him fight. That's why from this moment Yihao told Yunfei that the matters of fighting and killing would be left to him, so that Yunfei would not feel any further suffering. And as usual, Yihao, who was only at level 4, was currently only the object of ridicule for these delinquents. After seeing Yihao's self-confidence in trying to protect Yunfei, who was on a higher level than him, Yihao, who felt slighted, immediately walked up to them and said, "I don't want to kill in front of my little sister. Do you guys if you want to survive." Those words made the delinquents burst into emotion. Dan immediately clenched his fist toward Yihao, but suddenly a quick shot from a stick can easily topple the man. It turned out that it wasn't Yihao's attack but a man who had high speed and immediately beat up the thugs. The man called himself a passerby, and because their goal is the same as going to the black market, finally the handsome man invites Yihao to go together. But this unknown man's kind treatment only drew suspicions rising in Yihao's mind. And to dispel the suspicions of the two of them, the man finally uncovered his identity. After he said it further, it was discovered that this man was an alumnus of the same school as Yihao, named An. An was known as the first genius in the academy's history and was frequently invited by the pro teams within a year of his entering the academy. After knowing his real identity, Yihao finally decided to go with him to the black market. But even so, it still doesn't eliminate Yihao's vigilance because An is a member of the Huangjing group, the sworn enemy of the Hanmo group. After a few moments, the 3 of them had now arrived at the black market entrance guarded by 2 men who looked familiar to Yihao, where the arrival of An, who already knew the guards, was welcomed by them. But Yihao, who also entered there, was suddenly stopped by these 2 guards. It turned out that they weren't angry. Instead, they welcomed Yihao here very well and respected him. An, who witnessed the incident, reacted in disbelief at what he saw, after seeing Yihao being able to receive better treatment than him. Back towards Yihao, who finally went inside. Meanwhile, An still couldn't believe how the high-status Miss Mo could invite this level 4 Yihao to join the Mogo team. But that was what made him interested in the level 4 student. When they arrived at the black market hall and had different goals, they finally parted ways. But before that, Senior An added Yihao to his friend list. And then because the hall of this black market was very wide and Yihao had only ever been to the VIP room before, they ended up not knowing where to get the deals they were looking for. And it was then that he felt an aura from behind very intensely, the intense gaze of a woman who was constantly watching Yihao. It turned out that the woman was a member of the Hanmo group named Miss Siyu, who was a resident agent of the Hanmo group in this black market, where Siyu offers to guide Yihao later. Yihao was then escorted to a place known as the VIP room of the Hanmo group, which place provided various kinds of facilities for VIPs, but in Yihao's room right now was Hanmo's trading base, which had the highest authority in the black market, where this place also has a variety of high-level and rare and hidden equipment that is not available in other free markets. And all of that can be obtained as long as Yihao has money. But right now Yihao wasn't interested in equipment but rather an item. Not long after he searched, sure enough, Yihao found the antidote he needed. And the person who sold the goods was of course the director who had been suspected before. The question for Yihao right now is, why would a director whose salary is already high want to take such a high risk to steal medicine just to get money, and even the bitter that the director sells for a higher price than usual? These are usually sold at 100,000 per bottle, but those sold by the director are only for 600,000 per bottle. But that didn't dampen Yihao's intention from the start to get the item. With the help of donations to carry out the transaction, Yihao asked the woman to contact the seller and would pay her 1 million per bottle as long as Yihao met the seller in person. Here Yihao must have prepared a strategy that he would immediately execute. Not after that, finally, the salesperson was roughly brought into a room by the officers and confronted by Yihao, who had been waiting for the man's arrival. What is certain is that the director knows Yihao, but this time the director even disguised himself with wick, which he thought was the perfect disguise so that his identity would not be easily recognized. but at the first glance, Yunfei recognized the director's face. Yihao, from the start, knew he intended to do something. While the director was panicking after the perfect's disguise was blown, he intended to leave, for how could a child have that much money to buy his antidote? And that's when Yihao immediately took out his flagship card. According to Miss Siyu, the card alone is worth 50 million and that doesn't include the money in it, and immediately made the director surprised after knowing that Yihao was very rich. And after realizing Yihao's wealth, the director without hesitation immediately blew his cover and declared that he was the director. It was also at that time that the director continued his transaction with Yihao. Long story short, after the director took out the antidote, what he brought was a fake bottle. After checking with Miss Siyu with her modified eyes, it was certain that the bitter was a product belonging to the Manhwa group that had been stolen by the director. Because of this incident, Miss Siyu finally ordered the officers to immediately throw the director out of the safe zone to be eaten by the monsters. And before leaving, the man said that the safe zone they were in would soon be ambushed by monsters, and none of them will be able to escape. Only the old gate can save humanity. As well as the director also said an old world mainland king sect, where the director's words are almost the same as what Maru said before his death. But that's still a mystery in this story. But Miss Siyu said that the man's words were just a conspiracy theory that they didn't need to worry about at all. And he also explained that the place where they currently live is the 9th safe zone, which has been established for 50 years, where this safe zone has never even received attacks from monster invasions. Then according to the rules of the Manhwa group, the lost company assets belong to whoever found them. That was why the antidote was given to Yihao for nothing. And because the 3 million yuan fund intended to buy the antidote had not been used up in the slightest, at the end the money would be given to Yunfei to buy the equipment he wanted. Meanwhile, Yihao is invited by Miss Siyu Yang to take part in a secret auction that is held once a month, whereas Yunfei will stay in the room because he looks very excited when choosing the value of the equipment to buy. Until finally the two of them went to the auction, which was located in the middle of the 9 safe zones were there. Yihao intended to spend 15 million of the 17 yuan million in total. We were immediately herded into Victoria's Secret auction dungeon. It seems like the name Victoria's Secret is not too foreign to Yihao's ears, where it has gathered auction lovers who come from 9 safe zones. They also wear robes after entering into it, for the sake of maintaining the secrecy of the identity that is behind the robes. The magnificent room and its striking design make it a special attraction for Yihao, who is coming to the place for the first time. We end the story here first. Next, Yihao will have fun there while hoping to get good stuff there. With that closes the end of the video in part 5. If you are still interested in the continuation, comment on the next part.